TSA here in America, they're the worst in the world as far as how friendly they are, and they'll yell at you for leaving a dime in your pocket, things like that. Whereas overseas, they're not like that. A lot of places will let you leave your belt on, you leave your shoes on. You don't take your laptop out of your bag, things like that. Hello and welcome back to the channel, Darren's Travels. On this channel I talk about traveling around the world if you're a guy by yourself, and specifically if this is your first trip overseas. And today actually I'll be talking about to everybody essentially. This will apply to everybody if you're taking your first trip overseas. And that is the day you leave when you go to the airport to go overseas. For traveling internationally, it's different than traveling domestically, and you really do need to get to the airport about 4 hours early when you're traveling overseas. And because international flying is different, you're gonna have to first of all find probably the international terminal for your airport. And then you're gonna have to go in and do that, and then you're gonna need you're gonna need your passport, and you're gonna need any type of visas if you need a visa to go somewhere. I mean, all that, if this is your first trip overseas, all that it takes a little getting used to. I mean, kind of orienting yourself to the international terminal. There may be a little bit more security on the international terminal from your local, your domestic flying, whatever. But so with all that said, just again, make sure you get to the airport about 4 hours early on your first international trip. And then secondly, kind of like when you're traveling domestically, what you can bring through security. Your liquids have to be under, I think, 3 ounces, whatever. A lot of people I know take empty water bottles through security because you're not allowed to take any liquids. But I know a lot of people take empty water bottles through and then fill them up after they get their security. I don't do it, but I know that's what some people do. I will tell you this too: when you're flying in Europe, or when you're coming back to the U.S., security is a lot nicer. They're a lot easier. They're much more friendly. They're much more easier to deal with in Europe than here in America. TSA here in America, they're the worst in the world as far as how friendly they are, and they'll yell at you for leaving a dime in your pocket, things like that. Whereas overseas, they're not like that. A lot of places will let you leave your belt on, you leave your shoes on. You don't take your laptop out of your bag, things like that. And a lot of places overseas. So when you land, like I said, when you land in Finland or somewhere, that's something to know about the security. Also, when you get to your gate, when you're at your airport and you're getting ready to go, kind of pay attention to the announcements that are on there, because sometimes gates change. And so if there's flights that get all screwed up and delays all over the world, and planes are getting in late and they have to find places to leave or whatever, sometimes your gate might change. And so if you're sitting there with your noise canceling Bose headphones on, and you don't hear anything, you may not hear the announcement, the gate change. What I always do, and what you can obviously do, is just check the board every now and then, just to make sure you're still at your right gate. The plane is going to be there at your right gate, and all that. So also make sure, like I said, you're there. The boarding process for international flights starts a lot earlier. Now, this is something when you're overseas coming back to the U.S., that starts much earlier, because American customs, American security overseas is so much more strict, because anybody flying from Europe back to America, they do a lot of security. And so give yourself about an hour to come home in the airport anyway, for like passport checks and things like that. Those are probably the most strict process you'll deal with. I remember coming home from somewhere. I think I was coming home from Serbia, and the U.S. Customs were checking my passport to come home, and they were asking me about Serbia. They were asking me, what did I do? What did I like? And they must have questioned me for 5 minutes. And these are the American people over in Serbia coming home, so they definitely want to make sure all that. Another thing, when you're leaving the home airport, when you're leaving your local airport, or whatever, about to go overseas, is even that you're going to have your boarding groups just like you do domestically, whatever, but try to still get to the front of your group. So if you're in group 4 or whatever, just try to make sure you're, as close as you can to be to the front of group 4. Don't be one of these people who wait till the last moment and then get on the plane. And the reason why is because you're going to be, as a guy traveling by yourself, you're going to be just with a carry-on bag, and that's it. You're not checking any bags in, nothing like that. So you want to have your luggage with you the whole time. Well, if you're getting on the plane and you're one of the last boarding groups, or you're one of the last people in your little group or whatever, sometimes the plane will already be, the overhead bins will already be too full, and so there won't be room for your bag, or they'll tell you there's no room for your bag. And so they'll say you have to check in your carry-on bag. And again, that's one of the negative things about being one of the last people to get on the plane, because all the overhead bins are taken. I remember when I was going to Serbia, when I was going to Belgrade, I was here in Phoenix, and I was getting on, about to board on plane. I had my carry-on or whatever, and they said I had to check it in, and I was just like, why or whatever. And so, and then I was hoping I could pick up my bag at my layover in like DC, I think it was, and they said no. I was like, your bag will be waiting for you in Belgrade. And so I went from Phoenix to DC to London to wherever, and finally ended up in Serbia. But anyways, again, you don't have to check in your bag. I guess that's the point of all that. And then finally, I'll say, basically, again, coming home, like I said, coming home is usually a little bit easier. It's like going through security. Going through security in Europe is always a little bit easier. What's kind of funny about coming home is, like, in Europe, the smaller airports, obviously, or any of the airports really, if you want, you don't have to get to the airport 4 hours earlier coming home. I remember when I was in Budapest, I was in Hungary, and I remember I was out one night, and I came back to the hotel, and I asked the guy that said, look, my flight is leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning. What time should I get to the airport? 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever, in the morning. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, no, just get to the airport at 5 o'clock or whatever, 5:30, and you'll be fine. And so I ordered the taxi, whatever, and I didn't really believe them. I think I got to the airport like 2 hours earlier, but they were completely right. I got to the airport in Budapest, and I was like one of the first people there and all that. But nevertheless, so ask the people at the hotel, how early should I get to the airport, to come home. And so that's kind of the overall, the day of your flight, and just kind of flying, when you're overseas. Hopefully that'll help you. Like I said, those are some of the things I didn't, especially, like I said, the difference in security. You're going to have a pleasant surprise going through security overseas than you do here with TSA or whatever. So hope that helps. Again, check this. The next video I'll have here is again about packing light, and kind of why you should pack light, what you should pack. Because again, just take your one carry-on bag. Don't check in any bags or anything like that. And thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.